Greetings, all you wild and weirdos and weird edits. It's I, Ron, and that's Joe, and that's Doomsday Dave over on the end. This is Wild and Weird Radio Live, a Wild and Weird West Virginia podcast. And we are going to be going over a lot of cool things tonight. We have a very special guest, good friend of ours and fellow colleague researcher out there, Mr. Stan Gordon, will be joining us here shortly. And right after we do our news bit, and actually we may have him just weigh in on the news because, believe it or not, this will be the first time that we've had this show where everybody can hear everybody, and it's going to be a fantastic show, right?
Yep, first time since very early on.
So, Joe, let's get everybody welcomed in and let you guys know I did start the goal up there. The goal is for the next meeting prize that we're going to be doing. We've got some other stuff. Joe, we've got another book to give away, just to let you know, for the the continuation of this.
A nice one out there somewhere in retail land this time around.
I've got one, yeah, and we'll talk about it after a while. So yeah, we've got another one for the book giveaway too. We're building that wild and weird library for you guys out there.
So everybody, thanks for joining us. We're back here at Wild and Weird Radio Live on Thursday nights, 8 p.m. Eastern. Andrew, what's going on, Andrew? If you're out there, I checked the tracking on your package yesterday, and it's been sitting in Portland for a few days, and that's that's a long ways from you. Considering it's at least on the right coast, but it's there. So
anywho, it's showing Monday, Saturday. So we'll see.
It's showing Saturday for his.
Oh. Huh. That's weird.
It's kind of like Amazon. You order something and you get it 5 days later instead of 2.
Oh, I know, right? So then we've got Jordan Booker in the house. We've got Brenda Ratliff, 9 Lives, Donna Ho, Teresa's here. We've got Jen, Bonnie Blue. What's going on? Rachie. We have who else? Dave Eggleston. We've got, let's see who else.
I don't know, but let's get everybody in here.
Ada Cox is here. Enzo Cirilli, L.R. Miller, Gary Foote.
Get this thing shared out to as many people.
Seth Womack, what's going on, buddy? Stone Maven's here. Linda's in the house. Good to see you, Linda. Oz in the Woods is here. Terry McCullough. Oh, Jordan Booker coming in hot right there. Thank
you, Jordan.
LR gave another one as well at $5. We appreciate you. Ada Cox right there.
Oh, look at that.
Octopus, what's going on? We've got Dave Eggleston is here. Welcome, Mr. Gordon. Thank you. Then let's see. Arthur Mitch, what's going on? Good to see you. Then I think that catches us up. We're ready to rock and roll. Get into this nasty news.
Right. Let's take it into the news really quick. Like I said, Stan's gonna be able to hear it. You won't be able to see it, but you'll be able to hear it. And we're just gonna touch on a little bit of the things, then we're gonna jump out of that and get back into the real world here. But there's some stuff going on in the news. A little bit of that, so-called disclosure thing. I'm calling it so-called disclosure. I don't know about you.
You're really mad.
So-called disclosure. So-called. Anyway,
yeah, it didn't. I wasn't terribly impressed with the.
No, me either. Let's go to.
But again, this was just pandering.
Yeah, right. I mean, it's to keep the ball rolling. We get that, but we got to go somewhere with that ball. We have to have when you play, any kind of game, you need to have either home base or a touchdown or a goal or something, right?
Yeah.
I'm still waiting, but either way. Let's there was some movement this week, but it was all negative. We heard some fireback this week.
Yes.
We're talking about drones again for some reason. So let's go to presentation mode. I got a couple of things I want to touch on while we're going into that, okay? For those who don't know, there's this massive story that's going on this week that, this fighter pilot that was shot down. You guys remember when he was shot down, right? That was the first pilot that got shot down, right? So anyway, he gets shot down, and all of a sudden now he says things like, "Oh, it was a drone jellyfish drones or some nonsense." Okay,
Which is weird.
It's an interesting choice of words. Let's just put it that way. So they're acting like this is all brand new. Let's just put some video together. You guys watch it. Tell me what you think. I mean, that's how we're going to do it. Let me find video number 1. It's right here, loaded. I think it's this one right here. Let's go with that first, because the fear is strong with this one. All right, that's the whole point. The fear is strong. First of all, you caught that, right? Medusa swarm. I just want to make sure y'all caught that. Medusa swarm. Never said that. Alien drones. Never said that. Jellyfish formation. Yes.
There is some evidence, though, that Iran could have achieved this capability, most likely, sources say, with the help of Russia or China, which have this capability on their own. And there is evidence to suggest that they have provided Iran with drone technology in the recent memory. So that's one lead that intelligence officials say that they're tracking. But in addition to this, though, the pilot himself, his account is a little bit fuzzy. He literally had a concussion.
So that comes in. They've talked about that multiple times now. They questioned, where did this even come from? Did he really say that? Was it from a source? Like,
look who joined the show, Mr. Jeff Thomas.
I am honored.
Good to see you out there. The elusive one has joined us.
Honored beyond belief. Absolutely honored.
He has popped from the shadows and into our feed. Didn't see it, brother.
He's real. He's like Santa. All right. So that was the first part, right? Now, here's another part. And pay attention to the wording that you're going to hear in these ever increasing bits that they're talking about, right? So watch this.
Fraction of the events that took place in October 2023. That's according to a report from the director of Aero.
We are learning more now about this fleet of objects that flew over Langley Air Force Base. Now, to be very clear, we still don't know exactly what they were. There was a Wall Street Journal report that says that Aero, which is the division within the Pentagon that investigates UAPs or UFOs or anomalous phenomena, things that we can't really explain. Aero was involved directly in this investigation right alongside the FBI to try to figure out what these things were, which means that the Pentagon at least had some consideration that this might be something we couldn't explain.
What are we spending all these millions and possibly billions of dollars on that these idiots tell us don't exist? And then yet we turn right around in the skip and then they tell us they do exist. This is a cover-up. You all know it. We know it. We demand the answers, and dadgummit, we're going to get them. Look, we got 1 or 2 bites at this apple. Please be careful about the false information that's coming out of Washington on all this stuff. Trust your gut. You know what's right. You know they exist. You know this has been a cover-up since before most of y'all been born.
He's not wrong. And to prove that, just to prove that, listen to the terminology, listen to the footing that these guys are putting on. Oh, sorry, not that one. It's this one.
Which effectively allows one single drone operator to control multiple drones at the same time. And so that's something that has sparked a debate within the U.S. intelligence community in the weeks since this shoot down happened. And intelligence officials have gone back and forth to try to verify what this pilot told them.
It's not new, guys. That right there, that's a Reddit from 3 years ago. Someone wanting to know how to make their own home drone show.
Well, no, to this though, I want to make a point. This guy said that one person could effectively swarm or command this swarm of drones. That is a partial truth.
It's a partial truth, right? Yeah,
it has to be programmed.
Oh yeah,
these run on a elevated version of CAD, where you program the destinations, the plot points. You have a massive map that is given out. And then you are essentially pressing buttons saying, perform task A,
Right.
perform task B, make this move here.
Exactly. Exactly.
It's not like you can command a fighter fleet
Well,
and have them just autonomously, unless it is autonomous,
unless it
have
is
them
autonomous.
just go into this,
Right.
weird mesh and attack.
But the point being is that how it was really described was that it was a floating minefield. Now I can understand that because of what you just saw from Sky Elements, where they send up those stacks, right? You could see that being weaponized. I could see that being weaponized because that's what humans do. But check this out. This was from 3 years ago. Someone wouldn't know how to make their own. But look, this is today. There's software. You can literally do it yourself now.
Yeah.
DIY, or you can pay someone to do it. And there's exactly what you're talking about right there. Guybrush, exactly. So it's not new technology. They're using these fear words to generate, again, the same crap, just like you heard a little bit ago with Burchett. He's right. They're just, it's a cover up, man. And they're using the same story. It's the same narrative. We're back to drones again, even though it's been said, no, they're not drones. These things aren't drones. If they were drones, they would, they're not drones. I'm sorry.
If they were drones, we'd be in trouble, guys.
I think he literally says that at one point on one of those interviews, because it's literally like that. But no, I mean, they're literally not drones. And I think that it's ludicrous for anyone to really go there and accept this for face value. Do your homework. That's what I did. Do your homework. And if you do your homework and stop believing everything that you're hearing and actually get in there and research it, you're going to probably be less surprised than than they want you to be. Wouldn't you say that would be accurate?
Yeah. And Dave brings up a good point here. It's not necessarily that they're jellyfish drones.
No, they're not.
But it could be a pattern, like a group, a cluster moving through airspace, and you have a single mass here, and then below it there's like these trailers.
The whole point is, he was probably trying to describe something that he couldn't quite describe
it the best he could.
And what have we seen? Look at jellyfish in the in a tidal pool. That's how they move.
Yeah,
they seem to be moving like that, right? So I think that's an accurate description. It doesn't mean that he's really seeing jellyfish, though. That's the crazy part. So yeah, just kind of be careful with how you take that, I guess, and we'll see how how it all turns out. But yeah, just be vigilant.
Now, Dave also says, is it a cover-up or an ill-informed media running with scary catchphrases?
Well, you heard it.
No one in today's media does a lick of research before running with a fake story.
No, did you hear some of the words that they were using?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, a Medusa swarm. There's no, it doesn't say that. It's surprising. It's chilling. It's shocking. It's not. There's literally nothing.
It's like uneducated answers or statements.
Yes. Well, I mean, I'm with you. That's what it is, and as to the fact that you're looking at something that, it's just, I don't know. It's not a coincidence that we're getting ready to get the other releases. There's already talk that there's possibility that so-called jellyfish UFO is going to be in this. If that's the case, this was a preemptive strike. That's the way I see it.
Yeah.
I think that's what you're looking at. I think you're looking at a preemptive strike. And that's my call on it, guys. I think that's where we're at. In other news, we had Mr. Avi up there again talking about stuff, his council. Remember that?
Well,
the council? Yeah, the council. Y'all remember that council, right? Yeah.
This whole council's taken me from being like between the council and the jabs he's taken at Dr.
Villarreal. Yeah. I'm with you on that.
Like I'm to the point now with Avi, regardless of if any of it's correct, regardless if she's right, or wrong,
yeah,
you don't publicly go on these kinds of He put himself into the same category as, oh gosh, the guy who's backpedaling now like crazy.
You mean Shermer?
No,
Oh, you're talking about Tyson.
Tyson, Neil deGrasse Tyson. He's put himself into the same arena as that. Now he's just a talking head.
I don't know.
He's a talking head with bad ideas and bad opinions at this point.
I think it's sad that they're not working together. But look at this. Take its presentation. So she is now working on something with some people, right?
Yeah.
And here's that.
We will conduct a serious review of NASA material in search of UAPs and anomalies, and I'll be looking for transients too. The effort is led by former NASA Associate Administrator for Space Policy and Partnerships, Mr. Mike Gold, which we all met during some of the hearings.
Yep.
And is being carried out together with the Disclosure Foundation Executive Director Jordan Flowers and theoretical physicist Dr. Maneli Drekashani and aerospace engineer. Hey, there's my boy, Dr. Travis Taylor. Now we know why he isn't on the council with Avi.
Yep.
Former Undersecretary for Science and Technology at the U.S. Department of Homeland Security, Dr. Reggie Brothers. Dr. Reggie Brothers is a beast too. Clinical psychologist Dr. Stephen Brule. Okay.
Yep.
And myself.
Yep.
That's the dream team.
There's the other team right there, right? So we've got all this momentum moving up. By the way, Avi actually addressed why he had, Shermer on his team. Did you hear this? Did you hear why he has him on there, by the way? Did anyone hear this? Let's listen to this. I want you to hear this. This is just hilarious.
For decades,
Oh, that's not it. I'm sorry. This would be it. Council, Avi. I have so many clips on here. And some of them get used, guys. Some of them get used. Some I just make until 3 o'clock in the morning and never use.
Head of that advisory committee joining me now, Avi Loeb, renowned theoretical physicist and Harvard professor. Professor Loeb, welcome back to the show. Thanks so much for taking your time out tonight.
Thanks for having me.
You and I talked about the council, and they plan on addressing national security threats posed by UFOs. I have to ask, how concerned are you about the nation's preparedness, at least when it comes to that sphere?
Well, it looks like the All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office in the Pentagon is unable to figure out a significant fraction of the events that took place in October 2023. That's according to a report from the director of Aero. And that's a serious matter, because if we are dealing with drones as being these orbs that were not identified, then we are facing technologies that are not understood.
So listen, we're talking about drones again. You heard that, right? We heard the shift right here. This is from Avi. He's quoting Aero. He's talking about drones.
Tasked with assembling this council, and there is at least one UAP skeptic, a devil's advocate, as they say. You're on this board. Why was this inclusion so important?
Because if he starts from a different view than many of us have about the nature of UAP, and then by the end of the process he ends up siding with us, that will be an indication to me that we did that we accomplished our mission and that we have robust conclusions. I want him, this additional member, to participate, express his doubts, and then we will know that we don't have biases.
You won't have biases. Did you really? Does he really think that? Does he really think that?
Well, I think the surface level concept is, yes, add a skeptic to the team.
Sure.
Because of that exact statement. But
Find like
when you go with him, I mean, you're kind of.
Don't find someone who does this.
Right.
Don't find someone who does this. Anyone who literally purposefully villainizes someone else.
Yep.
This is not who we want on that team. I'm sorry. My money is going to be on Dr. Villarreal at this point.
Oh, yeah.
I can't. I mean, this right here is enough. I know Shermer came out and apologized loosely, but the only reason he's doing that.
It was a very insincere apology.
It was a very insincere apology. He does not care. That's a fact. So anyway, that's enough of that stuff. You guys, what do you think? You let us know, drones. We're back to drones again, even though we've ruled them out. So I know that Stan got to hear all that. I'm pretty sure. You there,
And
Stan?
there are a few questions that are
you're on.
specifically for Stan that I have
Okay.
queued up. I just don't want you guys to forget them, guys.
Yeah. So what we're going to do is, as you ask your questions, guys, we're going to star them and then we'll put them in. That way everybody can get their questions answered. So Stan, you got to hear a lot of that. We've got two teams working separately, apparently, to try to figure out, if these things represent some kind of, for lack of a better word, alien or non-human intelligence. And one of them has, Michael Shermer on board.
Oh yeah, there's so much interest in the subject now, but there's so much controversy, and I think it gets back to the fact that nobody knows for sure what we're dealing with. I said years and years ago, this year marks 67 years of research, and I've never personally seen a UFO or a Bigfoot. Talked to thousands of witnesses, seen a lot of interesting physical evidence over the years, but it became apparent to me over many years ago that we're dealing with more than one origin to the unknown category of the UFO mystery. I am very confident, from what I've heard, that the whistleblowers are talking about the recoveries of non-human bodies as well as craft that was not man-made, and I truly believe those cases are real. I think more and more that what we know about Kecksburg probably falls in that category now.
Yeah.
And as you know, last year I released a big report, released a lot of new information on the case on the 60th anniversary. And I expect I'll be releasing more coming up on the 61st, December 9th of 65. But as I'm saying, I think a small percentage of these things are extraterrestrial. But there's a lot of what's going on is much stranger indeed. There's a physical and a non-physical aspect to it. These things, under certain conditions, they come and they go. They're here and they're gone. And whether we like it or not, it's not just certain UFOs and the orb phenomenon we're dealing with, but it also connects Bigfoot and other cryptids as well. And I'll tell you a lot of those reports tonight.
And that is so uncomfortable, isn't it, boys? I mean,
It is for a lot of people.
Right, Joe? I mean, not for us, but it is for some people, right, Joe?
It really is. It's very difficult for some people to digest. But it just is what it is. And the sooner that everybody can just come to the notion, which doesn't seem that outlandish, that we have no idea what we're dealing with when it comes to Bigfoot, UFOs, ghosts, any of this, the better off we'll all be.
Yeah, I would agree with that as well. Do we have any questions over there, Bud, just before we get started here?
Not that are like, there's one asking about part of the topic, but we haven't gotten into the part of the topic yet.
Okay. Well, what we're going to probably start out with is, I know that, we've been talking about a lot of stuff over the years, Stan. And I think a lot of it's just what we've seen here has just been validation. Like we've seen it in the field, and we're seeing, this whole attempt by some aspects of official statehood or whatever, trying to reveal this stuff. But I think we all know that it goes a lot deeper than that. And it's a lot more strange. Isn't that a pretty much a good way to sum that up?
Yeah, I'm telling you, the more I deal with these things, the stranger it is. I ended up my last book saying the phenomena is so strange it protects itself because it is so strange and unusual. For most people, unless they experience themselves, it's very hard for them to accept and believe that these things are going on. And believe me, I've talked to witnesses all the time with reports coming in here, and so many of these are very credible people who used to laugh about Bigfoot and UFOs, and then they had their encounter, and now their lives are changed dramatically.
Yeah. It's I think that we've definitely entered an era where we can have these conversations with more people. I mean, it's different when there's just like, a few of us sitting around talking about this stuff, but now everybody's kind of talking about it. Everybody's talking about orbs. I mean, did you think that we would see a time when, you're turning on major news and they're talking about orbs of all things?
Well, as we've talked in the past, I've been out in the field since 1965, since the Kecksburg incident. And I knew in the 60s, I was hearing reports of these small spherical objects. So an orb is something spherical. and they range in different sizes of the ones we're going to talk about today, because a lot of what you're hearing what the government's talking about in their file releases are generally high altitude sightings, which I've had multitudes of for years and years. In fact, the one case I'm sure you know about, and I've talked about on the air before, is that famous UFO Bigfoot incident that happened back October 25th, 1973, during that massive UFO and Bigfoot outbreak here in Pennsylvania, the biggest in history. And that's when I had my research teams of all kind of scientists, engineers, and police officers, former military, who were out in the field with me investigating. And that was that night when the state police called me from Fayette County, from Uniontown Barracks, a trooper, and there were 15 people that observed this very large sphere, orb, ball, bright red, hovering about 100 feet off the ground, slowly moving down towards the pasture. And to make the story short, unless you want him to go into a bit more detail about it, that's when the farmer's son, being an adult, was coming up to his farm, and he sees the object and people watching this thing outside. And he and two boys go up to the field to see what it is. And to make the story short, when they get up to the field about 250 feet away, that big, solid-looking sphere orb was now on the ground, but it was no longer a complete sphere. It was like a half a sphere, like a hemisphere, like a big white dome illuminating the area. And then what made it much more interesting, you had two huge Bigfoot creatures standing in the field at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I've seen several people who have had issues trying to reconcile these things. You brought up something though, and I think me and Joe were talking about this recently as well. I don't know what it was for, but we were talking about the whole orb thing, and how the ones that are higher up, they don't seem to be the same thing as the ones that are tree level or ground level. And now we were talking about, Joe.
Yeah, the ones that are higher up, they seem to behave completely differently. They don't operate under the same thermodynamic laws. They don't operate under the same visible spectrum or frequencies. The ones that are up high tend to emit, radio signal, and they're also extremely high altitude. They're not visible for the most part on night vision optics. They're only visible on thermal. Whereas the ones that are in the treetops down around the ground, they emit microwaves and EMF, and they're visible with just above human visibility. And in some cases much higher than human visibility, but in most cases it's just above. And it's clear to me, at least based off of our conversations and our research, that we are dealing with multiple orb phenomena.
What do you think about that, Stan?
Well, let me tell a little bit about what I learned about these orbs. It's very interesting and very strange.
Yeah.
So I knew about these reports in the 60s, and over the years I kept hearing reports. And so what I found out was that the smallest ones are about the size of oversized fireflies. And I knew about that in 1972 when we had an outbreak outside of Greensburg, PA, in a wooded area where independent landowners were calling me because they began to see UFOs, these little spheres of light, orbs around their bushes, around their property. They were hearing screams in the house, finding strange footprints. People saw a tall, very broad-shouldered hair creature chasing dogs. And that's when I first knew about it. So those reports are continuing. But the majority of orbs are generally about golf ball to baseball size, about a foot or two in diameter. And there's some variations in that. But there's also some reports of some of these things that are also small, but they're not spherical. But the majority of them are spherical and orbs. And so anyhow, I've had reports over many years of these small spheres, these orbs, pacing vehicles on beautiful days on major highways. There's been reports of these things entering people's vehicles. And now in more recent years, we're getting more reports of these things appearing inside of people's homes, within a few feet away from them. And then we're getting other reports more and more in the last couple of years of beautiful days of these things gliding, floating right up to people within a few feet. I'll be mentioning one of my research associates, Jim Brown, who I think you met.
Oh, yeah. Great
and
guy.
he's a real high-tech scientific guy. He builds some of the best instrumentation to work on these cases. So he's investigated some of these cases, especially in Fayette County. But he got involved in the incident, which is on my website. You can read the whole report. It was July last year, north of Pittsburgh, in the afternoon, when a lady was in her garden in this small, I believe it was about 1.5 to 2 foot diameter sphere. And most of the time, it's luminous of different colors, by the way. And this thing slowly glided toward her, floated right up to her, made contact with her chest. She said it was cold like it'd been in the refrigerator. She lost her balance. She fell backwards and hovered over her head, and it was gone. And those are reports are very, very intriguing. But we've had the biggest surge of these cases in 2022 from all over the state of Pennsylvania. And again, this is not occurring just in Pennsylvania. I'm in touch with researchers and witnesses all over the country and out of the country. These things are going on everywhere, more and more. And the other pattern I found was that a lot of these incidents going back many years are occurring in areas where you have a long history of Bigfoot activity. So you have witnesses and researchers are out in the field and they're seeing more and more of these various type of light phenomena, bright flashes of light, but these orbs as well. And so that's also intriguing. Go back to 2022 in October. I'll just give you a couple examples.
Yeah.
So early one morning, a Jim investigated. This lady finds her husband sound asleep on the porch in the cold weather in his pajamas, which he would never do. And when she finally awakened him, he had said he had gone out to get the newspaper just been delivered. When as he's walking to the box, here's this small sphere hovering very close to him. And he said all of a sudden he got so tired he couldn't stay awake and he fell asleep. That was interesting. 3 days later, up in the area of the, you got the Chestnut Ridge and you have the Laurel Ridge. From the Laurel Ridge from outside of Ligonier going up through Rector and up through that area, a lot of history of a lot of weird stuff as well. So you had a woman who lived in one of those old big historical homes outside of Ligonier. And she got up about 2:30 in the morning to go to the restroom. She comes out, and 5 feet away in her living room is this dark blue orb, about 2 foot in diameter, just hovering there with some kind of a dark mass moving around inside of it. She remembered taking one step towards it. She felt like a slight electrical jolt. And then she said she became so tired she couldn't stay awake. The next day she felt very weak and sickly. But she said, I'm an insomniac. I don't fall asleep like that. So she had no explanation. So there was two similar types of physiological effects being reported. And others more serious ones have come up. I think I've talked to you about this one case. Eric Altman from the Pennsylvania Bigfoot Society was there with a number of other researchers up in the area that they call it the Area X of Pennsylvania here in Fayette County. They uncovered this area several years ago while investigating Bigfoot activity. I've been up there. It's a very weird area, very remote. Even with big trucks, it's hard to access. But they came across this area where now there's a long history of orbs, strange creatures, cryptids, all kind of weird phenomena, electromagnetic effects. And they've got some good instrumentation. They've recorded some really interesting energy fields around there as well. But on this one particular night, and I may have talked about this before, this was, I believe, about 3 years ago. It could be off a little bit. But anyhow, they had quite a lot of researchers up there with radios. And luckily, Seth Breedlove from Small Town Monsters was filming for a documentary. So some of this was recorded on video. And anyhow, that evening, as things are going on, a number of these orbs came out of the woods and began to move in that general direction, which several of these people saw at pretty close range. But Tom, he's gone public. He's talked about this publicly. I was with him and Eric a couple weeks ago. So it was Tom Mihawk, who's very credible. He was by himself at the time, and he saw these two orbs coming towards his direction. He thought at first it was one of the investigators with a flashlight, two people with flashlights, but they got very close to him and realized there was nobody there. They're just these small spherical luminous objects. And I believe it was within a few days after that he sustained major eye damage, an eye injury. And he's gone through a lot. I know he's had some surgeries, had eye bleeds for a long, long time. And my understanding is that he's had several of the well-known ophthalmologists in the Pittsburgh area examine him, and none of them have an explanation for what happened. That's just a sampling of what we're hearing about.
Yeah.
So I always tell people, if you see these orbs, keep a distance from them because we don't know exactly what might happen.
What did he say, people? What do I always tell you? What do I always
chase
say?
the orbs.
Don't chase the orbs.
Now,
It's the number one rule.
This is one of the questions that we started early on.
Oh,
from
go ahead.
G-Ball.
Yeah.
Are the orbs radioactive and or cancer causing? According to Dr. Gary Nolan's research, that would
And Kit Green.
and Kit Green, that would be an affirmative to some degree. It just depends on the mechanism of how.
Right. Yeah. So we don't really know. As far as radioactivity goes,
We've recorded it tons of times,
but we haven't.
We've never been damaged that we know.
Right. And it's always low, but then again, ours is residual. You have to remember that. So,
And who suggested that?
Residual about that field.
What is it, Stan?
I said, who suggested taking a Geiger counter with you out in the field?
Oh, I don't know, but he's always credited in everything we do. I can tell you that. You're always, every single time. Yes, you're the one. And man, how different would it have been if I had not taken that advice? That's the crazy thing that we have to look back at. Because I still remember the day when Joe had to begrudgingly look at me and into that camera and it got captured. It's there. It's captured for history. And how just so upset he looked that he had to admit. But that was great because that's following the data and not your beliefs. And we documented that very thing. And I think that's one of the things people like. So yeah, you definitely got credit for that.
Now for the most part, it has been residual, Ron, but there wasn't anything residual about that field incident.
I don't even know what that was. So,
it wasn't a
33
device error. We know that much.
No, well, it couldn't have been a device error, but considering you had, other devices being switched on. I mean, come on, we showed it. There were 7 different data sets that came out of that within minutes, right there in that one spot. And then you guys getting at 30, 33, 35, right there.
36 right on the spot.
Yeah, it's just crazy. It's absolutely crazy. So yeah, and I don't know. I mean, maybe if we hung around later that evening, there could have been an orb there for all I know. I don't know.
And then, Ron, I'm sure you fellows have heard this, and it's not just what I've heard from people in Pennsylvania, but all around the country. The orb phenomena gets stranger and stranger because there are people who swear that they've seen a Bigfoot or other type of creatures suddenly appear from the orb.
That's right. Hey, speaking of which, have you run any cases like that yourself personally?
I can't think of one where it involved into a Bigfoot.
Yeah.
But I can tell you about that well-known case that I investigated in '73 north of Pittsburgh that one of my associates, researchers, and my team got involved in. There were 2 women, September '73, waiting for a friend to pick them up out in the country. While we're standing there, they see the 7-8 foot tall white-haired Bigfoot running across the road towards the woods, but in one of his hands is carrying a glowing sphere orb of light. And then a few hours later, this object came across the sky and projected a beam of light down into the woods where the creature ran into. That's when we first knew there was some connection. We had no idea what we were dealing with.
I got you. Yeah, that makes sense. We got other questions there, bud?
Yeah, Bonnie asked, why do you think they're becoming more obvious to us, Stan?
We can speculate for a long time. We've learned a lot. There's so much nobody understands about it. Why does it even happen? While there's certain patterns to some of what we're finding, a lot of it just doesn't make any sense at all. And it's deeply complex, as you fellows are finding out, as well as other researchers. It's so strange and so unusual, these reports coming in, and I'm sure we'll talk more about them as the show goes on.
Oh, yeah. There you go. There's someone who's obviously seen one. You want to read that?
This is from Octo. Said, the one that I saw was small, maybe about the size of a golf ball. electric white, almost bluish, and it flew off right after I saw something watching me from behind a tree.
There you go.
Very interesting. Does he have any detail what he saw that they have been looking at him from behind the tree?
Octo, type it into the chat. We'll throw it up. While we're waiting on that, Stone Maven says, Octo, mine was inside the house across the room from me. I observed it for several minutes as it moved around the wall.
I mean, I think it's okay to say this. We had what I guess could be considered the whole hitchhiker effect while we were out there doing the research. Okay. And I've talked about it here before. And yeah, I saw an orb in the house. It happened. So I totally get it. I don't know what it was. I have no idea. I did grab the equipment. I did go into the room where it went, and I documented that, but there was nothing there. I mean, I don't know what it was. I have no clue.
Eric says,
well, let me give you another aspect of what's going on, because this is kind of interesting. There's been nonstop reports all through the last few years, all this year, right through the last few days. And more what we're dealing with, whether it's orbs, low-level UFO, UAP sightings, Bigfoot, cryptids, a lot of it's now in daylight where people are quite close to some of these creatures 50, 60 feet away. A lot of the UFOs now are very low altitude, being seen over more populated areas. This is what you're not hearing about, but this is what's going on in Pennsylvania. And from what I hear, there's a lot of activity around the country as well. But give you an example, late May this year, north of Pittsburgh, 1:15 in the morning, this witness who is very, very credible, I don't think he'd want me to say what his background is, but anyhow, he was awakened. There was this bright light encompassing his property outside. So he steps outside, and directly over his home, but at a higher altitude, he sees this unusual cone-shaped, luminous whatever, but it's projecting a beam of light down on his house and the surrounding property. And this went on for quite a while. He's trying to videotape this thing, but it was so bright, it was washing out the image on the screen of the camera, so all you could see was light. And this went on for quite a while, and then it suddenly just disappeared. Soon after it happened, there was this odd smell in his house. He woke his wife up, and they all smelled it. They opened the windows up because it was so strong, even in the basement area. And he knew right away what it was, because what he's been involved with over the years, he said it was ozone. So here's what's really interesting. So last year, October 23rd, outside of Uniontown, which was a pretty populated area, so this fellow goes upstairs to a spare room in the house he hardly ever uses. He goes in there to get a book, and as he opens up the door, sitting in the middle of the floor was a white ball about the size of a soccer ball, and it rose up to about a foot off the floor, stopped then, and shot straight out through the wall of the house. Wow. And say again?
That's pretty incredible.
So what happened was, right after it happened, the whole area of the home smelled very strange, had a very odd smell. So Jim Brown goes up to investigate, and Jim's a real scientific guy, and the guy didn't know the smell, so Jim took up I believe some chemicals, different things, without telling them what the different smells were. And what did he pick out? Ozone.
Yep.
Okay. And then let me give you another interesting example from November last year. So this again is outside of Ligonier, and again, an area where a lot of people have seen a lot of weird things for years, from cryptids to Bigfoot to UFOs to orbs. And anyhow, so this is November 17th last year. So this lady is sitting at her computer desk, 8 o'clock in the evening. Her cat's sitting on the desk in front of her, and there's the computer screen right in front of them. Suddenly, and she measured, it was 21 inches from her. Suddenly, this object appears. It's totally round, but only about 2 inches in diameter. It's an off-white color, like a silverish white with a subtle gray tone. And it was flat and solid-looking, spherical. And but she also said that it produced no light, but the structure looked similar to a snowflake or circles of webbing or lace. And it was so thin and flat and no more than a quarter inch thick. And it moved slowly from right to left across the computer monitor, and suddenly something opened up. She couldn't explain it, like a curtain, some type of area, maybe, who knows, an entrance point for another dimension, who knows, and it flowed right into it. Moments later, an identical second spherical object appeared, did the same thing, moved across the screen. The cat went to put its paw up towards it, but didn't touch it, put the paw down. It went inside of whatever that was, and whatever that was, that area there disappeared, and the two little spheres disappeared as well. And moments later, her room was encompassed by this very strange smell, and she said, I know what it was. It's what you smell after a lightning strike nearby. It was ozone. So we found there was 3 cases. I'm aware of at least another one. Can't think it was out of state where ozone's been showing up.
See, that's a repeated phenomena right there. That's a data set.
And it's a ton of energy to be able to produce that.
Ton of energy, right?
Amount of electricity.
Yeah, I mean,
the amount of power.
It kind of seems that that's what we got. Did I see that we have somebody here from Ireland? Is that what I saw?
We have Tets is here from Ireland. I recorded UFOs and have recorded an orange orb in my garden with a face in it. 17 months ago, I got an unknown tumor removed from my neck and haven't recorded since. I hope you're doing well now, Tets.
Yeah.
And I can understand your apprehension for what could have possibly caused it. So I'm hoping that you're doing well, and glad to see you're at least still interested in the phenomena and it hasn't completely driven you out, because I know that there are dozens, if not hundreds, of folks who are in that position who, once they have something like that occur, they tuck tail leave and never come back.
You know what? It's better safe than sorry sometimes.
Yeah.
You know, it's
rather late night in Ireland right now.
Oh yeah, that's what I was. I responded back to him in the chat, and I said, "Thanks for hanging out with us so late. We appreciate you."
That's amazing.
So this was to go back to the sighting with the orb and the bipedal creature, Stan. This was his description. It was around sunset. So what I saw was the silhouette of something with a human-sized head watching my friend and I from behind a tree near a river here in southern Massachusetts.
Yeah, and again, I hear these kind of reports fairly often. Different types of descriptions. Some people, even with the Bigfoot reports, a lot of people are not aware. I've been investigated hundreds of them in Pennsylvania since the 60s, every year, including this year. And again, a lot of these sightings now are at closer range and daylight. So people are seeing these things with very detailed reports coming in. And, but anyhow, what a lot of people don't hear is that there's also very detailed reports from credible people seeing these creatures that, for example, are more of a misty or smoky, foggy, misty appearance. You can see the whole body, but it's just an outline shape. In some cases, I've had reports where a part of the body was physically solid and other parts of the body was more transparent or out of focus. And I've had reports of these things not only running with a huge gait, but also cases of these things gliding above the ground at a high rate of speed. And there's so many aspects of Bigfoot people don't know about. I have a whole lecture I do on it called Strange Aspects of Elusive Bigfoot. And I get into a lot of the weird things that most people don't know about, such as electromagnetic effects reported with some of these things when they're close by vehicles and the car engine begins to sputter and the creature moves off and the power comes back on. That's something you rarely ever hear about.
Yep. That is at the heart of high strangeness. Someone had asked something earlier, Joe, about the 7 devices or something, all reading the same data.
Yeah. Which one of us was mentally projecting the 1.6? It was Eric Stitt that said it.
Well, interesting enough, during the 7 time there was no 1.6. That happened later in the investigation. So we just had battery failures, radiation.
Yeah, we had like a 3 point something else, right?
There was as far as the the spectrum wasn't picking anything up when that happened. That was the weird part. Everything else was just batteries and power and multiple camera failures, radiation, the weird thermal anomaly. And I think there's some UAP, but yeah, very weird. What's the one from Seth here?
Seth asks, what do we speculate the connection is between Bigfoot and the orbs?
Well, we can speculate, sure. Stan, pure speculation. Do you think that there is some kind of connection here? Like,
Oh, there's no doubt. I mean, especially with that case where the creature was carrying an orb in its hand. And then we get multiple reports from areas that there's a lot of Bigfoot activity. Here's the whole thing. The whole thing is so unusual. I keep repeating myself. You get a lot of Bigfoot reports, of course, in the woods and forests of Pennsylvania and around the country. But there's more and more reports over the years where these things are being seen, and not just Bigfoot, other cryptids such as thunderbirds and black panthers are being seen in populated areas of major cities where there's hardly any woods around. So that has nothing to do with it. Believe me, this is all energy connected. The pattern I found years ago was that many close-range, low-level UFO sightings and many encounters with Bigfoot and other cryptids often occur in the vicinity of energy sources. So, for example, high-tension power lines, power plants, bodies of water, railroad tracks, gas wells, gas lines, all kind of radio towers, cell phone towers, communication towers. There's no doubt there's an energy connection to a lot of what we're dealing with.
do you think it's possible that we're dealing with, and here's the speculation thing, right? But that the orb phenomena, for lack of a better word, these self-illuminated anomalous phenomena, as we call them, that they could be almost like vehicles for something, and that thing, whatever that is, when we're seeing these Bigfoots or we're seeing all these other things, that's not real. That's just a projection into our mind, so to speak. I mean, we know what screen images are. We've talked about that multiple times on this show, but could it be a consciousness interface, almost a camouflage from whatever this thing is?
Well, again, so many theories and speculation out there. However, you've got some effects that a lot of people, again, are not aware of. And a lot of people have heard that hunters and other people sometimes right before they have the encounter or right at the beginning of the encounter, all the nature sounds go quiet.
Yep.
And then these people experience this overpowering fear. But there's more to that people I've interviewed and people who've been with other people, that sometimes more than one person experiences at the same time. And sometimes people are reporting, as strange as it sounds, that these people are everything looks completely different. They're lost in the area. That's something that's normal to them. They know the area well and then all of a sudden everything's out of place or looks different. Sometimes we've heard temporary change in personality or even trance-like states. Mm-hmm. And then it's very common, I'm sure you've heard this, I talk to people all the time, some people from 20 years ago that had a really close UFO encounter or other type of encounter, and they're with somebody else, and moments after it happens, the one person said, "Did you see that? Did you experience?" And the other person had no memory of it or didn't want to talk about it. Yeah. And that's not uncommon whatsoever.
Yeah. I mean, as far as it goes, this phenomena may have multiple sources. I think it's important that people remember that, because
and the other thing
don't know what it is.
You've got to also remember it's not just physiological effects, but there's physical evidence in many of these cases as well. Yeah. And the one thing is, it's very interesting, plus the fact that we've made casts of many footprints over the years where these things were ongoing. There was other evidence at the time that something had taken place. With one case in Derry Township back in '73, when the people had encountered a Bigfoot next to their trailer. They heard a noise, opened the back door, and the thing's standing there. And right about the same time, their power was going on and off in the trailer. So anyhow, they called the police, and the police 911 center called me, and my team went up. We were on another incident where the state police called us on out in Hermione, PA, of a Bigfoot sighting. So we found our way up to Derry Township. And when we got there, we found that that heavy-duty supply line that goes from the power box under the ground to the trailer had been ripped up out of the ground. Another energy connection. So sometimes there's physical evidence to support what the people were seeing.
Wow. Anything there, Joe?
Enzo says, just a thought, but could the orbs be multi-dimensional entity pushing partially into our 3D space, allowing us to see it? A sphere shape is naturally formed shape for planets, stars, etc. Go ahead, Stan.
No, I was going to say it. And again, we just don't know enough about what we're dealing with. I don't think anybody, including the government, understands what's happening. I think that's one reason why there's so much secrecy, because they don't know how to deal with it, and they can't tell that to the public. But anyhow, there have been some other cases where low level, near the ground, it's not just a spherical object. Sometimes there's something else being seen. Sometimes they're more elliptical, like a long emergency fuse or a flare. So there's other things being reported as well, but the majority of them are spherical.
Wow. This is a good question, by the way. Go ahead and hit that, Joe.
This comes from Jordan Booker. Do you see a correlation between people open to the revelation of orbs and Bigfoot versus those who only believe in the physical Bigfoot?
Well, I can just tell you this. You know, I've done many, many lectures for years, and many in the last year and this year already. And in particular, when I'm doing my program on the strange aspects of Bigfoot, and I present all this information, I've had such a positive response. I mean, I've had educators and PhDs and people come to some of my lectures, and they said, you know what? That makes a lot more sense than being something extraterrestrial. But we don't know what we're dealing with. What if some of these are both extraterrestrial and interdimensional? We have no idea what's going on.
Yeah. I mean, it could be the byproduct of just simple technology. I mean, that's literally what I've said for a while. Like, we can't nail it down and say that orbs are 100% this. Like, they're the folks who think that they're, involved with ghosts, for example. Can't say they are, can't say they aren't. We just don't have enough information. We don't even know what a ghost is. That may be an interdimensional or extra-dimensional being for all we know. So, we have these things about trying to put labels on everything. And I think that's one of our big issues.
And the thing is, there is some similarities. I've been interested in the paranormal and ghosts for years. That's not my main thing. I do it mainly in UFOs and orbs and cryptid activity. But sometimes over the years, you find that there's a connection between some of the paranormal stuff and history. So here's the other thing I found years ago. Almost anybody can have a one-time encounter with a Bigfoot or a cryptid or a UFO or an orb. But there's another group of people that have had these experiences throughout their lives. I was one of the first in the country to work on missing time abduction cases back in the 60s, long before like Bud Hopkins and others got involved. And Bud and I got to know each other well, and he was surprised about some of the things that I had found that he found similarly as well. But anyhow, and I can tell you this, I'm in touch with numerous people today. Some of these people I've been in touch with for 20, 30, 40 years. And there was one person, in fact, I'll tell you this, just yesterday, her daughter called me. I think I may have talked to her daughter one time before. And this lady, who I've known for years, was a young girl who was missing. And there was a big search for her here in Westmoreland County up in the country. They found her standing in the middle of this field that they had already searched, and she said she had been there the whole time. And it's a long story, but from the time she was very young, she had apparitions, ghostly apparitions going on. As time went on, she had encounters with Bigfoot, cryptids, orbs, UFOs. Sometimes other people were with her. But as time went on, her children began experiencing these things, and now her grandchildren. And I found in so many cases, these people, it's going through generations of families. And there are numerous people that I'm in touch with right now. Some of them live within a few miles of each other. There's numerous ones in some areas here in Southwest PA. And interestingly, sometimes when one of them is having an experience, somebody else will call me and tell me they're having experiences as well. There's a definite pattern to them. And all these people said to me years ago, why is this happening to me? Why am I having these experiences? And I hear that quite often.
Now, Stan, I don't know if you have seen this or maybe even if you have shared some of that, but Dr. Gary Nolan was expressly looking for cases like that just in November, December timeframe. And was actively looking for cases that followed like the family line. And the only reason I could think that he was doing that is because he found something. That's the only thing I can think.
Yeah.
And again, you know, a lot of my information's out there. And I know I've talked to a lot of people around the country. Some of these are people that are well known in the field. Some of these people that keep low key. And I'm sure a lot of them have looked at my website and read my articles, and they're probably aware of some what's going on here. Because the orb thing now is huge. The interdimensional thing is now huge. These things that people are focusing on more and more. And people are much more curious about it now, more open-minded.
Oh yeah, absolutely, 100%. You know, I'm really surprised that you weren't actually, you know, questioned by some of these people, because you have more firsthand knowledge about some of this stuff than most of the people out there. Honestly, you've been collecting it since a lot of them were born.
Oh yeah, well, they know how to get a hold of me if they want to.
That's what we say too. It's the same thing. We got any questions, bud?
Just a few statements that have been popping up here, but we had Mitch here that asked, can Stan tell us a Thunderbird story? If not, that's okay. Or Arthur Michelle, maybe that's what it is. Arthur Mitchell. I don't know. Art. We're just going to go with Art. Can Stan tell us a Thunderbird story?
Oh my gosh, I've been investigating those for years and years, and you know the same thing with Thunderbirds as UFOs. It is very difficult to judge altitude and size, but I have a number of incidents where these things were on the ground, blocking vehicles, eating roadkill. And there was one case I investigated. Actually, it was in West Virginia many years ago. Oh my gosh, quite a long time ago. I wrote about it, I think, in my Really Mysterious Pennsylvania book. I think it's in there. But anyhow, that morning was a 2-lane country road, and this guy's riding down the road. He had to hit his brakes real hard because this huge winged creature was standing in the middle of the road, only a few feet away from him. It was taller than the top of his vehicle, and it was hopping from one leg to the other, flapping its wings, trying to get off the ground. They were both staring at each other. Gave me a great detailed description of it, but he could see the dust and dirt rising off the road as it's flapping its wings where the wingtips were. And the thing finally got above the trees. He came back the next day, measured the width. It was 21 feet across.
Wow.
But let me tell you about one from last year, more than one. You know, Derry Township here in Westmoreland County, along that section of Chestnut Ridge, is probably one of the most active areas in the country all the time for reports, even in recent weeks. It's nonstop. All year round, people are calling in about all kind of things, from Thunderbirds and Black Panthers and all kind of weird entities and orbs and you name it, all kind of things are going on up there. So this is February last year. So this guy always get up very early to go to work. It's about 3:30 in the morning. He's riding down one of the country roads in Derry Township. It was a nice clear morning. Temperature, he said, was the upper 30s. As he's riding down the road, his headlights hit something in distance. He thought at first it was a deer. As he's moving closer, he suddenly sees these large wings spread out. As it got closer, he watched this huge flying creature slowly flap its wings as it rose off the ground. He said the head of the thing was first looking off the side of the road, but when it noticed the car, it snapped its head, looked directly at the vehicle as it rose off the ground. It got higher and higher, and the man lost sight of it going over the trees. But he said this thing was huge. He's been hunting for years. It appeared to be all black with at least a 10 to 11 foot wingspan. The wings looked like that of an eagle. He did say there was some white color mixed in with the black feathers at the tip of the tail. The head of the creature was facing him. As it rose upward, he saw what may have been the tail that looked to be about 4 feet long. The creature stood about 6.5 to 7 feet tall. The thing that really caught his attention were the eyes, because they appeared to be diamond-shaped and about 7 inches across and were glowing a bright red. As it got close to the creature, the brighter they became. He said the glow was luminous like a tail light on a vehicle.
Now, Joe, what does that sound like?
Well, to hear tell of that, and you compare it to the Roger Scarberry account of 1966 and glowing red tail light eyes, etc. You know,
yeah. I mean, so you know, that's the thing. I mean, we're seeing these things repeated over and over, and you can see why. You know, some of the some of the high strangeness research has to go into these perception-based things, right?
Yeah.
Because is it really that, or are we seeing it for that? Is it hiding behind that mask, as Valet and Keel believed? And I honestly have to say that there's the possibility that, yes, it could be doing just that. There are over 72 people out there right now, Stan, that are listening to you and watching this. So shout out to every single one of you. Thank you for being here. And if you have questions, get in here and ask. And we're starring them, and Stan's getting to them as fast as he can.
So for Stan, any more recent sightings of the gray, tall, three-fingered creature in your area?
Well, I can't say three-fingered, but there have been different types of creatures. I don't know if you're referring to one of the cases I worked on back in 2017 that started a whole series of incidents. And that was a call I got from a police officer who just came off patrol. And he said to me, I just had the strangest experience of my life. And this was probably 30-some miles north of Pittsburgh. No, that's a different one. It was still probably about 20-some miles outside of Pittsburgh. And it was an area that he patrolled often, and he's riding down the road that evening, and he sees this glowing ball of light on the ground. Do not get it confused while we talk about it. It's different. As he stops his vehicle, because he realized I'd never seen any artificial lighting like that, suddenly that sphere, that bright, luminous object, rises from the ground, and he realizes it's the head of about the 6 or 7 foot tall, hairless, sickly looking, long limbed humanoid creature. And it was illuminating the upper part of the body. And he said it turned, and he said, I never saw anything move so fast in my life. And it was gone. Same thing many witnesses to Bigfoot have told me. That it's suddenly there, it appears in front of their car, doesn't cross the road, it suddenly appears in front of them, it's there for a short time, and it disappears. But anyhow, he pulled his vehicle up, and he put a spotlight on, looking for tracks, and there wasn't any. Within the next week or two, other reports start coming in from around the state in many other areas. And then the year later, up in another county north of Pittsburgh, a man contacted me. I was at the house, so I saw where this happened. And he lives in the woods. He knows deer very well. He lives with the deer. And he was up to this one evening when he began to hear these odd sounds and something bipedal walking, but it wasn't a human-like sound. He knew it wasn't deer, and it kind of unraveled him a little bit. So he goes down to his home, and he's sitting there at the table, kitchen table, about 8 to 10 feet away from his back door where there was no drapes on it. It was just a clearly open glass door, and he couldn't believe what he's seeing. Crouched down on all fours is this sickly-looking, long-limbed, hairless thing with glowing yellow eyes staring right into his face. He turned around to grab a rifle. He turned back, and the thing was moving across around the back of the house and gone. Said it took him days and days before he went back up to work in the woods. And those are the kind of things that have been going on for quite a while. We hear all kind of weird reports of creatures, some very small ones, the very tall ones. But anyhow, that's what's happening.
Wow. That is something. We got more people asking questions.
So, are there any cases that mention people having telepathic communication with orbs present, similar to other UAP-related cases?
Okay, it's not that common, but on occasion we've had people tell me that there was something when they're seeing this thing, that there was some type of telepathic message, something they were getting, something, a feeling about this thing, but it's not that common. However, now you get into the Bigfoot phenomenon, and are there cases of what some people call mind speak? Yep, there is, and they're very, very rare in Pennsylvania. I've had a few of them over the years, and these are all credible people who are reluctant to tell me. And I told you earlier, I've never seen a Bigfoot, but I was a witness to what I'm going to tell you. So this is the mid-1980s. This is a location along the base of the Chestnut Ridge between Derry and Latrobe. And I'm getting calls from landowners out there, people on property there, that this huge hairy thing was coming down from the top of the ridge down to their homes and scaring the animals. So my team goes out there. We're out there, and several people there that we're interviewing. And the one person says to me, who says, I don't know how to explain this to you. I don't understand it. But it seems at times when this thing's around that it tries to mentally communicate with me. So we're going back to interviewing people. And a few minutes later, she says, this thing is now telling me that tomorrow morning over the town of Homer City, Pennsylvania, Indiana County, so about 15 miles away from where we were in Westmoreland County, that tomorrow morning over Homer City in the early morning hours, there'll be a strange UFO incident. And very early morning hours over Homer City the next morning, there were multiple reports of this very loud, strange sound, like something was hovering over the town, but nobody could see it, and they called the fire department out.
See, there you go. I mean, that connection. Again, it's almost like that's a camouflage. What you got, Joe?
G-Ball says, I saw a bird with a wingspan wider than 2-lane highway coming from a deer roadkill. I was almost stopped. I thought it was a vulture of some type. The head was red, brown collared feathers, and had raw meat in its claws. Then Oz says, Stan, we've discussed the Bigfoot orb relationship, but have you noticed any other patterns over time that you have not seen widely reported? Ron, are you there? Dave, are you there?
I'm there. I think Ron froze.
Yep, Ron froze. So Ron and Stan are gone.
For the moment.
Yep, we will have them right back with us shortly, folks, to answer your questions.
Very odd. Hope he don't lose his internet service. Very possible.
Yeah, he'll probably just reboot his system and be right back. The Men in Black have snagged him.
Definitely Men in Black. They're out for Stan. Stan's telling all their secrets. I was actually looking up Thunder. He was mentioning Thunder Ridge, and I've been sitting there looking that up. Because that's actually an area that my wife and I have talked about going to visit without even realizing what was there. Because for astronomy, that area is a really nice place to go as well for setting up. So I'm even a little more intrigued to go there because of this. Like, well, maybe
if you got a chance, do it. Yeah.
Of course, this weekend, I was supposed to go camping this weekend. Actually, I was going to set up and do some imaging at this place called Motor Tract near Durban, West Virginia. It's a really beautiful remote area. And anyways, now we're going to have torrential downpours, 2 inches of rain.
We've got thunderstorms starting promptly tomorrow morning.
Yeah, it's going to be a long, rainy, wet weekend. Kind of a bummer. Oop. But I have I don't know if anybody's interested. While we're waiting, I'll tell them. It's like last week I had a galaxy behind me, Fireworks Galaxy. This time around, I've got another one I've been shot, an Iris Nebula, and it's a neat little. Of course, it's an emission nebula, and the stars blowing it up, so it's all light shining out and stuff. But it's one of my favorites personally. But hopefully, I'll have another one ready for next week. Then I'm almost done imaging with about 30 hours.
You do such great work with that.
Thanks, man. Been a lot of practice, whole lot of practice.
Oh, and it shows. It shows.
It never ends either. Constantly learning, constantly practicing. That's what's beautiful about it. There's always something new to learn. We might have to do a wild and weird trek over to that Thunder Mountain sometime to do an overnight in that general vicinity as well. Do our little investigation.
All right, we're back. Yeah, the internet just quit. The internet just quit working here. So that was fun. Stan, it's all good. We're back.
Yep, that's what we figured happened. So the question that was being asked at the moment when everything went dark
was apparently too much for you to answer, so we better steer away from it. No, I'm kidding.
they were kind of quiet, Stan, like you said. That's what we were saying.
Yeah, well, I
just-
thought Stan was like deep in thought, and then I was like, wait a minute, Ron hasn't moved either. I think they're froze.
Well, on
Ron,
our
are you
end,
there?
you froze on our end, and then everything just died. I'm like,
Gotcha.
uh-oh. So
So
anyway,
the question is, Stan, we have discussed the Bigfoot and orb relationship, but have you noticed any other patterns over time that you have not seen widely reported?
that's a good question.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
it's fantastic.
Yeah, and one of them is something, again, very few people know about, and it's very rare. But over the years, there have been incidents where Bigfoot reportedly accompanied another cryptid, so they were together. And also, for example, once again, as I mentioned earlier, you could be in the right place at the right time and just have one single encounter. But there are places around the country, and of course, everybody heard of Skinwalker Ranch. That's what I was dealing with here in the 70s, long before we knew about that. But there are certain properties, geographical locations in Pennsylvania where you have a lot of history of ongoing phenomena. I told you about the area X that Eric Altman's talked about for the Pennsylvania Bigfoot Society. And there's other places we know where there's ongoing activity with a lot of orb activity, cryptids, weird things. But back in 1979, on the border here of Westmore and Armstrong County, something apparently fell from the sky that afternoon to the woods, and people began to report screams and howls, orbs of light, strange footprints, weird stuff. And then 81, 82 in that area, there was all kind of Bigfoot sightings going on, all kind of orbs, three-toed footprints, all kind of weird stuff showing up. But at the same time, you had an outbreak of Black Panther sightings. So now we're not talking about panthers. We're not talking about cougars or mountain lions. We're talking about a black panther, a black leopard, a black jaguar. That's not common as part of the world. They've been seeing them in Pennsylvania for years and years. So sometimes when you have an outbreak like that, that goes on. And even in a populated area, for example, let me see, March 1983 in the suburb of Pittsburgh called Bloomfield, there was a big fence that separated a large wooded area from a big car dealership. And that morning this happened, a mechanic was putting a headlight on a car, as I recall, and this huge Black Panther dives over the fence, lands a few feet away from him. Had a dead animal in its mouth. It was so close, you could hear it and you could smell it. And then the thing turned and jumped back over the fence. Well, apparently several other people also saw a big one and a small one over in the woods, and that led to a big search by Pittsburgh police and animal protectors with tranquilizer guns. There was a major search. Nothing was ever found, and there's very few black leopards in captivity, especially then. Nothing was missing. Once again, no trace of it. As it happens in so many other cases, nothing's ever missing.
Wow. What else?
And that was in the news, by the way.
What we got, Joseph?
Dances says that she can vouch for the cats. She heard them all the time in Pennsylvania, and know where the cat rocks are.
All right. Here's our poll that we put up there, by the way, kids. It was, have you seen an orb? 67% of you have seen an orb. 28% said no. And 6% said I saw something. So if we basically do it like the old Blue Book way, right, Joe? That's almost a 70% that said that they saw something, right? Okay. So
that's 10%, man. More like 10%.
There you go. So we're going to start a new one. And this one is, start it up. And maybe I got to hide this one first, right? Stop the poll. Yeah. Okay. Stop the poll, hide it, and then start the new one. There we go. Do you think orbs and cryptids are related? It's simple. Yes or no. Type 1 for yes, type 2 for no. Everybody here, 73 of you vote and get your opinion in. Also, get your questions in for Stan. He is here and he's on the floor. He's on deck. He's answering your questions the best as he can. All right. What else we got?
We got me being like completely outnumbered in the in the query.
A lot of people are voting. I see.
Yep.
Yep, you're getting outvoted. So let's while they're voting and thinking of their next round of questions, Dan.
Lisa asked if he will be at the Dairy Bigfoot Days.
They are Dairy Bigfoot Days this year are not having Bigfoot involved in it for reasons I'm not sure of. But anyhow, but the Dairy Burrow, and I don't have the date in front of me. I'll be putting up my website. I believe they already have it. In fact, I think I have a flyer already on my website for upcoming events, and they're having a special like food truck night, and they invite me to come down to give a brief update on what's going on the ridge. So I'll be there to give a talk, and I'll be there that evening with a display table.
So Stan, do you ever make it down to the Dolly Sods area of West Virginia, in the northern part of West Virginia?
I've been through a lot of West Virginia over the years, but I don't believe I've been in that particular area.
Yeah, the reason I was asking, because even like I've been down there, like Ron and Joe are very familiar with it, and I've seen, well, I mean, you could call it UAP, but also orbs, like the orange glowing lights going across the skies, which I equate more with a UAP potentially, like some of the modern ones we're seeing right now, at least purportedly the modern ones we're seeing. And I just wonder if you had ever seen anything like that in West Virginia yourself.
No, once again, I've never seen a UFO, a Bigfoot, or an orb. So I'm skeptical, but I know there's something going on out there.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Following the data.
Enzo says if if you think they are alive, then by definition, orbs are cryptids.
Ooh.
That's one look at it.
That's one way to look at it. Yeah. That's one way. And
Andrew says cryptids aren't the same as aliens at all. I believe Bigfoot / Sasquatch is an entirely different realm than aliens. And I'm pretty sure Stan may or may not agree on that.
Well, once again, the term alien does not necessarily mean extraterrestrial. It just means something's different, out of place somewhat. So, again, depends on how you use that terminology. But once again, I'm not indicating that Bigfoot is of an extraterrestrial source. It's something else, and for lack of a better term, it's interdimensional, which we don't really understand. People talk about portals, and people tell me they've seen these things up on a ridge and other areas, that these things suddenly appear out of nowhere. They're there for a short time, and then they're gone. And it's just like what we're getting with a lot of these other strange creatures as well. Just like, I didn't tell you the story of the Black Panther. We start talking about that. Let me tell you how this relates. But I should probably tell you, because I don't think we talked about it tonight. I've talked to so many people about this. The February 1974 Bigfoot encounter where the lady shot at the Bigfoot.
Oh, I know which one you're talking about. Yeah, tell that. Yeah, I don't think you've told that on here.
All right, and then remind me to tell you about the case with the Black Panther. Okay. So anyhow, it's February 6, 1974. A part of that big 1973 and early 74 Bigfoot UFO outbreak in Pennsylvania. It's February 6, 1974. Some of your listeners will remember the time when this happened because, one, there was a big national trucker strike across the country. There was gas rationing. Everybody remembers the gas rationing across the country. There was violence across the highway. So in Pennsylvania, you had the state police and the National Guard patrolling together, and you had members of both units responding to this incident. I couldn't get gas early the next morning to get up to the scene. So anyhow, what happened was, here's a lady. She lives very deep in the mountains in a cabin home, lived in the woods all her life, knew animals very well. And she's watching TV as a normal evening. She's watching television, and she began to hear this commotion on her little front porch. She had a number of empty soda cans, pop cans out there, and something's moving the cans around, knocking them around. Well, I think it was 2 or 3 weeks before she had a pack of wild dogs came through, and she thought, I bet those dogs are back. So she's thinking to herself, you know what, I'll grab my 16-gauge double-barrel shotgun, and I'll load one chamber, and I'll go out and I'll shoot over their head and scare those dogs away. So she proceeds to do that. She loads her shotgun, walks up towards the front, opens up the door, hits the switch for the light, and steps out. But there's no dogs there. 6 feet in front of her is this huge 7-foot-tall gray-haired Bigfoot that looked completely solid, put his arm straight up over its head when she turned on the light. And what does she do? She aims her shotgun at it and pulls the trigger and fires right into it. She said there's this bright flash of light, like the flash on a camera, and it physically disappeared right in front of her. So her in-laws lived 100 feet away. They hear the gunshot, call and ask what she's shooting at. She tried to tell them. Her son-in-law reportedly grabbed his sidearm, started walking down the dirt road, and was surrounded by 4 or 5 hairy people with eyes like coals of fire. It's about the same time this large luminous object is hovering over the trees at the same time. That's when they called the state police for help. So that's the short part of the story. There was more to it. Anyhow, February of 1983, up in the mountains of Pennsylvania, around 1 o'clock in the morning, this guy's coming home. It's a cold morning. His car's overheating. He pulls into the driveway, and he goes in the house to get the can of antifreeze. So he comes back out, and he's putting antifreeze in the car, and a few minutes later, he hears this loud growl. So he turns around and looks, about 20 feet away is this large black house cat sitting on the ground, just growling at him. So he didn't think much of it because out in the country, there's cats all over the place. He goes back to putting more antifreeze in the car, and a few minutes later, he hears a louder growl, and he turns around and he said, I couldn't believe what I was seeing. That big house cat has physically grown to twice its size, and he throws the can at it. It growls at him. It starts walking outside, and that area outside is all lit up with lighting. And he runs into his house to get his pistol. And he said, when I came out a few minutes later, he said, I thought I was losing it. He said, now that big cat looks like what I saw in the zoo. Now it looks like a full-size black panther with a long tail and glowing yellow eyes that's growling at me. And he said, I grabbed my pistol. I took a shot at it. I don't know if I hit it, but moments later, it vanished right in front of me.
I mean, the tales like that. This is the kind of stuff, literally, again, almost similar to what happened to Skinwalker Ranch. Almost identical to what happened out there.
Yeah, and this has been going on for years in Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
But, you got to realize, Ron, this stuff's going on all over the place.
It is.
I've been taking calls from the public since 1969.
Yep.
And I had my research teams of all kind of scientific and research specialists for years. It was one of the only places in the country that you could report somewhere and somebody would investigate the report. And I've been doing this now, like I said, 67 years. My phone's never stopped ringing, including today, with reports of current and past reports. Between email reports and phone reports, I'm dealing with these things on a regular basis.
It's unreal. And yes, folks, he uses a landline. That's
correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
still has a landline.
He'll pick that landline up. Yeah. Question. Go ahead, Joe.
Stan, have you found in some of your investigations of anomalous activity, cryptids or UAP are near resource-rich environments like gold, maybe?
So mineral deposits, right?
Well, not gold, of course, not here in Pennsylvania, but
yeah,
there's a lot of, like in Chestnut Ridge, a lot of limestone up there. I understand could be a pretty good amount of quartz.
It's one of the largest seams of quartz on the East Coast. Yeah, USGS survey info on that one. It's huge.
There's an inactive small earthquake fault that goes through there. It's not been active for years and years and years. But that's it. But like I said, there's definitely an energy connection to what's going on. And so that kind of may play into some of those, what you just discussed as well.
Now, are there any, are there the one, I can't remember. We have a U.S. Geological Survey book that we reference pretty regularly when we're going out and conducting research, just to get a general idea, because some of the baselines will already be included in it, or at least what we can expect to see. Is there any salt from any extinct ocean beds up there in your area?
I'm not sure right there, but I can tell you up in Bedford County, which is not that far away, there's a really interesting, more of a private cavern. It's not well known. My wife and I were in there on a tour 20, 25 years ago, and I believe that has the largest fossilized wall showing the history of the sea levels in Pennsylvania. It's just completely covered in fossils. So it's really fascinating.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I'd love to see that.
Right.
Yeah, it's right off of Route 30 in Bedford County.
Well, you know, that's something for us to you know, maybe think about when we go up that way eventually, Joseph.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Just kind of look around up there.
Yeah, just might as well while we're up there.
Uh-huh.
Then let's see. We've got Uberu says the Panthers that I've seen had a smoky hind end, like it wasn't totally solid.
Well, there's that. You mentioned that before, right? That they were half translucent, half real and half not.
Well, that's been involved in more of some of the Bigfoot sightings, but once again, some of these other cases, and I'm sure there's many I've forgotten about.
Oh yeah.
But I've had people tell me about seeing a long-tailed creature, and that's and it appears not to be completely solid, just moving across the road. I know there was one years ago outside of Ligonier.
Wow. I know someone suggested that it's time for you to see something, and we need to take you out apparently, and on one of the investigations. I guess they're hoping that our previous luck holds out for you as well, but maybe one day we'll get to do that. You never know, people.
All I can tell you, Ron, is over the years, other teams have taken me out to areas where these things are going on, and every time I'm there, nothing happens.
I know. We had the same thing happen to Steve.
We've seen similar things happen. However, we have hardware that we're able to do things with that, while something might not happen, so to speak, we're at least going to see the ones that are flying at Mach Jesus upper levels, higher altitudes. We will see those, because like I've never not that at any time of the year, you name it.
To be fair, we don't know what they are. To be fair, we just know it's a thermal signature.
Yeah, we know it's a thermal signature.
Not a bird.
Know it's on an aircraft. We know that it's the same thing that the government's releasing.
Yeah. I'm fairly certain that some of those are the same thing.
Yeah.
Hey, Ron, you want to mention about the video that you saw and I received a couple days ago? That's very fascinating.
Can we reference that? Are we good to talk about that?
You know what? I guess we probably should wait. I mean, you've seen it now. I've seen it now.
Yeah, and we definitely. I mean, it's something we can allude to it. Let's say that for now, and maybe by the next time we can get a full on investigation report.
I'd like to talk to the witness first.
But
I have no doubt it's a legitimate video, and we'll talk more about what that is. But anyhow, something else we may want to talk about is the not deer reports coming in, and it's very, very fascinating. And are you familiar with those calls or those reports?
Oh, we're very familiar with those reports. The whole legend of the not deer, like I've said multiple times, it's based in a very interesting aspect of the phenomena, right, Joe? I believe it was Willow the Witch, I think it was. It was on an old post back in the day. She's the one who really started it. It was her research. And one of the very first reports was from someone she knew who contacted her. Of course, there was the other hunters talking about, the deer standing up. But the one that really started it was the couple I think it was a couple. They were driving on one side of the mountain.
Yep.
And then they see this deer and something's not quite right about the deer. A car stops, and next thing they know, the deer's gone, and they're like 5 miles across the mountain or something. I mean, it's
it's 5 miles from where
something.
they stopped.
It's something is what it is. And so it makes perfect sense to me, honestly.
Well, those stories go back years and years. I think a lot of it started in the Appalachian many, many years ago. But it's been the last, I'd say, 2 to 3 years now that I've been receiving reports from different areas mainly from up in the Chestnut Ridge area. And they're really, really fascinating. And so I can give you one account that's really intriguing. This is October 2024. That evening, I get a call from a lady that's basically very shaken and pretty much crying on the telephone. And she said, I just saw what I think may have been 2 aliens. And I said, well, what are you talking about? She said, look, I live with the deer. I know deer, and I have to travel every night. I'm not sure it was a job. She has to travel on one of the roads outside of in Derry Township. And she says there's deer all over the place, so I know certain areas that I need to slow down to be careful. So that particular evening, like about half an hour before happened, about half an hour prior to her calling me, she said, I'm riding down, I just came back, and I'm riding down the road, and I see what looks like 2 deer across the field. But they're not acting normal. Both of them, she said, look like the same back leg is bent, like it's crippled. And the one is continually moving around the tree, but when her headlight hit the other one, this animal came up and stopped 5 feet in front of her car and just stood there and stared at her. And she said, I know deer. This was not a deer. It had a body of a deer, but the facial features were different. It had floppy ears. It had big, very large black eyes. The nose was human-like and had a weird smile with no teeth, just staring at me. And she said, I just was in shock. She said, I had my cell phone next to me, didn't even think about taking a picture. So after several minutes, it turned around and walked across the road and joined the other one and went off into the woods. Within minutes, I'm getting UFO reports from people in that same area. And then over the next half hour to hour, I'm getting more UFO reports the next 15, 20 miles away.
Wow. It is something, isn't it? And yeah, I mean, up until this point, I've never seen evidence that, or even potential evidence to support some of those stories. But there's definitely something there, and I think that I look forward to actually you guys being able to release that, because it's got to be, you got to look at it for what it is. You got to make sure that the I's are dotted and the T's are crossed. But man, there's some good stuff, and I think that there's a good chance that it's going to possibly move the ball forward. And again, it may not really have as much to do with a not deer as it has to do with some form of extra dimensional manipulation of matter at this point, for all we know, right? I mean, that's the great part, because now we're having this conversation at high levels in the government. And I mean, I don't know what to call it, bud. I really don't. I can tell you that there's something there. And what that something is, I can't put my finger on.
Well, none of us can.
Yeah.
I mean, when I hear so many credible people calling me, I mean, before the pandemic, I interviewed, I think it was at least 2 hunters I can think of. These guys been out in the woods for years and years, and this was separately, and both of them had tears in their eyes, and they just could not deal with the fact that they had seen what they saw in the woods with a Bigfoot type activity. And I get this all the time from people, first responders and educators and all kind of credible people with different backgrounds who used to laugh at people that had these experiences. And now this has affected them dramatically. And some of these people, again, I've been in touch with for 30, 40 years, and still a lot of them just don't know how to deal with what they experienced.
Yeah. And I can understand that. I really can. Question there, Joseph.
What case does Stan consider the best in all of his investigations?
There have been multitudes of countless cases that are just incredible. Whether we're talking about a Bigfoot case, a UFO case, there are so many amazing reports. Probably one of my favorite UFO cases was September 3rd, 1987, early evening, a few miles from where I live on Route 30, major highway, which was then the Green Gate Mall, which is now a Walmart. And you have numerous witnesses, including law enforcement, that evening. They see this 300-foot metallic solid object, completely silent, multiple lights, about 300 feet off the ground, going right over top of the high-tension power lines. And it's moving across. It goes across the power lines, across Route 30. On the other side of Route 30 was a power substation. And here's this huge object moving across the sky that turns vertical in the sky. And when it does, all the power in the area went out, including the mall. And the power behind the mall never came back. That's where the movie theaters were. So when the power company engineers went to investigate, they found all three of the master fuses had been blown the circuit. And that was something they were pretty concerned over.
Wow. Yeah, that's something. All right, we got anybody else?
There are so many cases. Probably the one UFO Bigfoot case I always think about is the one I mentioned earlier, where you had multiple people see that very large sphere orb in the sky hovering and then dropping into the pasture on the ground or right inches above it. But it turned from a solid sphere to like a hemisphere, like a big white dome. And, even in more recent years, and this is what people don't hear about, we have beautiful, beautiful days where people are seeing these things at very low level. Jim Brown had a case in Fayette County several years ago where a neighbor happened to look outside our window and sees this thing hovering over a neighbor's roof. It's no more than 50 feet over the neighbor's roof. And I believe at that point it was a triangular object, I'm pretty certain, but it changed into, I think it was a sphere or a square. I can't remember exactly which one. And then it changed back to a triangle. And she went over to tell the neighbor, and they both looked, and the neighbor had no idea this thing was over top of her roof. And this thing moved up a few hundred feet and then up into the sky and gone. And with the orbs, you don't hear about this, but again, some cases these things are on the ground, but then they move vertically up into the sky and they're gone. Or in some cases, for example, they just vanish. There was a case several years ago in daylight where a guy was walking down riding down the road, and here's this small ball on the ground blocking his passageway. So he gets out of the vehicle and starts walking towards it, and as he's getting towards it, it vanishes and disappears.
Wow. No, that's something, right? Folks, we want to remind you, you do have to be present for this, by the way. You do have to comment to be entered into it, but we're going to be giving away this book this time. Right, Joe? Or is that next week?
The day after Roswell. Currently, everybody who has commented is entered in on the wheel right now. So as long as you've been here tonight, your name is...
As long as you've commented at some point. Yep. So somebody at the end of the show is
going to have to be here when we spin this wheel.
Yes. So it goes to the next person. So we're going to be giving away Corsos the day after Roswell. This book did change things back in the day. Is it true? That's for you to decide, not for anyone else to tell you. But it'll be interesting once you read this and then kind of juggle what you've been fed by some of these disclosure experts. Make up your own mind, right? Speaking of disclosure, hey, Stan. We've been watching this for a few years now, and I know we've got our own version of, of what we think about this, and you've said it before, but is there anything that has been released at this point that you have not already known in some way or capacity?
Well, the third series of documents came out, I guess, about a week or so ago, week and a half ago.
Yeah.
And that was a lot more fascinating than some of what we saw. The second batch was even more interesting. The first one, there was a lot of material that I know myself and others been involved in this for a long time have already seen. And it was interesting, but, you had documents there from the FBI, Department of War, Department of State, somebody I'm forgetting out there, but anyhow, there was Department of State, and there was somebody else, but anyhow, there was some interesting things, and yep, there were some things we had never seen before. There was some of the historical records going back to the 1947 Rainier, Washington, Kenneth Arnold sighting, and there was a lot of interesting things but a lot of it is basically a rehash of a lot of what we already knew. And then there were some new things as well. But now we're getting more and more into military sightings, military sensors picking up objects. Some are orb-shaped, some are something else. But I think that's really, really fascinating what's going on. Is this real disclosure? Well, the door's squeaking open a little bit. Yeah. But I hope that all these different what we're seeing, different efforts to get this information out. And I hope something happens. I'm very skeptical it will. Just when I realize I've gone through for so many years, having something somewhat similar going on back in, I believe it was 1975, 76, which is when I believe that the government did, and again, there's no way to prove this, but just some things that happened at the time, that they were beginning to educate the people through motion pictures and through different books and whatever to the subject that UFOs were real, there was something else out there. And it's been going for years and years. And but I'm really reluctant to believe right now, I say skeptical, that we're going to see any major disclosure anytime soon. The only way we'll get it is if they produce evidence to the public that there's been a long secret UFO recovery program, and it may have well been more than one under different names, and that we've recovered objects and also bodies, as the whistleblower said, that are not from here. They're non-human intelligence. Do I believe that happened? Yes. I mean, I learned a lot while investigating the Kecksburg case, and I truly believe that there was already a quick response UFO recovery program in effect in 1965 when the Kecksburg incident happened. Just because of the very quick response, the large amount of military equipment and personnel that are on the scene. And I found out over the years, and once again, tell your listeners to go to my website and go back and scroll back and read that big report I put on Kecksburg last year on the 60th anniversary, which released a lot of new information on the case. But from what we knew, and again, there was so much when this broke on the evening of December 1965, it was making a lot of local and then national news, but there was very limited about the information. And it took me weeks, months, and years to track down hundreds of people who were involved. And there were a lot of people didn't know it, but there was so much news that night. You had reporters from all the major news, radio, TV, newspapers that are on the scene that night in Kecksburg, and they witnessed the military, and some interacted with the military. And there were state police involved. There were fire departments involved. I tracked down some military sources. It was amazing the people I uncovered. And we learned a lot. And there's a lot of things we didn't know at the time. For example, we didn't know that right after this thing had made turns, changes direction, and made a slow descent into the woods, knocking out the trees. And this thing is completely intact on the ground with no parachutes, with no weld marks, no seams, no rivet marks, and these odd symbols on the back. That, it was a very fascinating case. There's so much more to it. But the fact that the military got there so quickly, and the amount of equipment they had, it made me believe that back then that there was already a program in effect for them to respond so quickly.
Right. I mean, they were there instantly. So you don't just, put this together and start calling out the guard, so to speak. They had a team that seemed to know what they were doing. Speaking of all those things that you just said, by the way, for those who've seen Disclosure Day, it's okay to talk about this now. We did a full episode on, with a couple of spoilers and whatnot in it at this point, and everybody's going to see it by now, but Kecksburg's in there. And I thought it was interesting that at Kecksburg, here we see aliens being recovered from Kecksburg. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but that wasn't really in the full public knowledge base until recently, was it?
Well, that's a long, long story. Over the years, from the time I started documenting when it was breaking on the news that evening in 1960, right. But there was so little information there, so few names, and I'm in the city here. That's out in the country. I knew very few people. But again, over many weeks and months and years, I would get leads from relatives or neighbors of people. I would get anonymous tips. And then the puzzle began to get together over so many years, because so many people independently were describing and confirming other people's accounts. It was just an amazing journey to go through. And there was so many different theories from the time it happened. The first theory I heard was from a family who an Air Force officer had come to their home soon after it happened and was interviewing them, and he told them it was a Gemini capsule been expelled in the area, which of course we knew wasn't true. And then from there on, there were multitudes of theories that I've looked into and other researchers have looked into, and none of them fit what we know. And there was no evidence to back up any of these theories, and never have been. But there was information, very little information. There was talk around from many years ago that there were allegedly maybe a body or two that had been recovered at the scene, but we could never confirm it. But years and years later, and I began to get more information from different people, and that's what I started bringing out last year. I think, you know what? It's time. It's 60 years. I'm not getting any younger. The whistleblowers are talking about this now, and it's time for me to tell more about what I knew. Now, I had talked about a little bit of this prior to this going on. I published a couple stories. I mentioned in my documentary, Kexford, The Untold Story, one of these details. So a couple of things I'll tell you. There's so much. We could spend hours just talking about this part of it. So in 1990, when we did the Unsolved Mysteries TV special on Kexford, it just opened up the floodgates. People from not just locally, but all over the country began to contact me. Some of these were people that moved away from the area. I got anonymous tips. I got witness accounts. It was just amazing. The information was coming in. So this one fellow calls me, tells me his name is Myron. He said, well, I guess now that it's on TV, I'm allowed to talk about it. So there was a big investigation with Myron. Myron was a truck driver from Ohio. And again, we could talk for hours just about this part of the story. But anyhow, he told me that within, I think it was 2 or 3 days after the thing fell in Pennsylvania, that a Navy officer came to the supply house and ordered a special type of glazed engineering brick to be shipped to Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. So anyhow, there was another driver that was at the base by himself the day before that he and Myron went to the base. And that truck driver initially would not talk about it. He didn't want to get involved, but later he confirmed this. So you probably remember the name Len Stringfield. Mm-hmm. Len Stringfield was known as the father of UFO crash recoveries, UFO retrievals. Well, Len and I were very, very close. I knew him since the early 70s until he passed away. And he was deeply involved in getting this information out on UFO crashes. He interviewed many people that knew about the bodies been recovered. He had a lot of pretty good sources and a lot of places that gave him a lot of information. He published a lot of this in these special reports that came out. So Len did a lot of investigation on the Ohio side dealing with Myron. And anyhow, so the first driver, when he got there that day, they said, just unload your bricks, don't be looking around, don't ask any questions. When he got there, now we knew this thing was taken out of the Kexford area on a large military flatbed tractor trailer. So when he got there, the trailer park was there outside this building with the object with a tarp over it. The next day when he and Myron get back there, the trailer's still there. The tarp is there, but the object is gone. So again, briefly, what Myron goes on to tell me is Myron's one of these guys that he did what he wanted to do. He didn't care what people told him. And he sees, as they're unloading the bricks, he sees these guys in white coveralls, and they were periodically changing their outer clothing. And he told me, he said, from what I saw, they were Navy people. That were there investigating the object and inspecting it. So he sees these guys coming in and out there, periodically changing their outer clothing. So when he didn't see anybody around, he went inside, snuck inside that building. And then he described seeing this thing up on scaffolding. There's ladders going up. There's guys up there where the object is. He can see it with the symbols on it. It's seamless. And they're apparently trying to get this thing open. And apparently at one point, he started asking questions, and then they realized this guy wasn't cleared to be there. And basically he was threatened, told me that he was threatened. They told him, keep your mouth shut or we'll throw away the keys and put you in jail. But in 20 years, this will all be public knowledge, which of course never happened. Yeah. But anyhow, the interesting thing is when I was filming my Kexford The Untold Story documentary in 1996, I went to interview Myron, which he's on there. And when I met him then, he was not in good health. He was visibly not in good health. And he said, I have something else to tell you I didn't tell you before. He said, I talked to my son about the night before that I was going to tell you. And he said, why are you going to bother to tell me? He said, because I may not be around in the future to tell him about it. So what he wanted to tell me was that when he snuck into that building, the lighting wasn't real good, but there was a workbench or like a work table. And all he could see was there was a small body covered with a cover with a sheet, and the left arm was hanging down, and it had 3 fingers, 3 digits. That's all he could see. And that was quite fascinating because years later, I've got involved with another witness locally who wouldn't talk about it for years and years, who apparently was down in the woods after the thing fell, was hiding in the woods soon after the object fell, and he had to keep moving back in the woods as people started coming in. He saw what appeared to be probably local citizens, and then probably what he believed was volunteer firemen, and then the military was coming in. But interestingly, before this all happened, one of the first things he saw down in the woods was a man in a black suit with a black hat and the tie and a camera. And he said this guy was taking all kind of pictures of this object down in the woods. And he said, I couldn't see clearly, but there appeared to be a set of tracks, footprints, tracks, coming from the direction of the object going off into the woods. And this guy was taking all kind of pictures of those tracks. And but then he goes on to tell me that while he's there watching, he had to keep moving back because these soldiers were setting up a perimeter around the crash site. And he said that as he's watching and the guy in the suit's still there, an Army officer jumps on top of the object. He had a long metal rod. He says something like a policeman's billy club. And for whatever reason, he starts striking the object. And as I'm interviewing this guy, all of a sudden his demeanor changes, his voice begins to quiver, and he said, I swear to God, sir, there was something inside of that thing. And he said, the guy hits this thing, and the hatch opens from the top, from the front, from right to left, and he said all he could see was this long, almost a long elastic arm. He said he could only see 2 digits, 2 fingers from where he was, but there could have been more. But he said moments later, you heard the metal on metal, the hatch hitting, and the officer started screaming, hurry up, we don't have much time. And the soldiers came over, they started cleaning around the object. They told me in great detail they put this metal strapping on this thing and how they had to winch it over, and they had a small crane down there. People didn't know about that, I was told. And they used it to load the thing onto the flatbed truck. But they couldn't take the truck right down to the air because of the trees. They had to winch it over. And anyhow, that's just one of several other really interesting accounts that indicated to me that there may well have been something else involved. And then I was hearing other reports over the years. One was that people on the scene that night had seen soldiers deep in the woods carrying what appeared to be a body on a stretcher, but it was too far away to see what it was. May have been 1 or 2. We're not sure if it's the same report. And then there was other reports. And interestingly, in the last few years, some people opened up to me that wouldn't talk about it before. And these people, the one guy was friends of people that I knew. And last year, he knew it. They told him I was going to do a lecture. He came in for 10 minutes, told me the story, and left. And these are people who have different accounts. Different people don't know each other. That apparently that evening, a number of people saw what appeared to be 2 very short, I believe, gray humanoid creatures running through the fields in that area. It's a fascinating story. I believe there's a lot more to it. We don't have time to even begin to get into it. But anyhow, read the account that I have on my website. It'll give you a lot more information.
Yeah, you did an excellent write-up on it last December for anyone who didn't see it. So we'll actually link back to that. I'll put the links back in here tomorrow after I edit the video. But just, I think there's a possibility, maybe just possibly, I keep my fingers crossed every time they release some of these tranches that we might get just the word Kecksburg. Just the word, that's what we keep looking for. And so,
Roswell too.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you another interesting little detail. While this happened near Kecksburg, it's a little, very, very small little rural community. It did not come down to Kecksburg. It came down right outside of Kecksburg. However, The only official document that's shown up was from the Project Blue Book report, and it took a long time to find it. A researcher named Ray Boucher, that was close with me back in those days, he uncovered it. And what they say is that they use Acme, PA, instead of Kecksburg. Yeah. So I believe the reason was because I know that a family was interviewed by an Air Force officer. They lived within walking distance of the crash site, but they had an Acme mailing address. And that's why they used that under Acme, but not Kecksburg.
There you go. So that's our targets, kids. We look for those whenever these tranches release. Either way, there's something there, in my opinion, and it's not easy to explain. There's too much to the story. There's more coming out. This is how these things kind of go. They hope that everybody who's involved is no longer around anymore. That's how they do it. They wait these things out. And then you hope, after everyone's pretty much gone, that someone's going to come forward and be like, either A, it didn't happen, or B, sure it happened. And now it's been contaminated with so many cross stories over the years. Look at Roswell, that you don't know what's real. And then they don't care. That's pretty much how you kind of cover these things up without covering them up. I think it's just, you let Tom bury it. Right.
And, Ron, we have no idea how many people were involved in this case. I mean, every year when we have a festival, you've been there.
I've seen it.
Last year, I think I had 3 or 4 old timers like myself who were there that night as kids, and none of them reported to anybody. They just thought it was no big deal. I was there with my parents. I saw the soldiers and everybody, but they all thought, well, I already knew about all this, so they didn't come forward. But we have no idea how many people were involved in this thing, and the high percentage of really good witnesses, people who were near the craft or close enough to see it. A lot of people saw the truck go out that night with the tarped object on it. So many of these people were dead. And you had witnesses who had been on TV, who were very credible, who were teenagers that night who tried to sneak down the woods, and they went on record and said that they were stopped by armed soldiers who aimed their rifles at them and forced them to get out of the area quickly.
Absolutely. So, the general call out goes to this, folks. If you were there, if your parents were there, if your grandparents were there, if anyone was there, or if you remember this story been passed down, so-and-so was at that site. We've heard these stories ourselves. Contact Stan. I can tell you right now, it's going to be between him and no one else. He keeps that stuff until it's either cleared by, both parties to agree, or unless it's validated in some way. It's the same thing that we kind of do as far as it goes with people's work as well. We don't just run out and start talking about it. We'd like to, but we don't. I think that's important, because I think that you get more validation that way, and it shows a little bit more credibility, quite honestly. Joseph?
All right, guys, I'm going to go ahead and do a screen share with you.
Oh boy, this is the drawing for the book, folks. We're going to go ahead and pop that screen share up there. Joseph, this is the
biggest list of names so far.
This is the day after Roswell. Appropriate enough because, well, next week, right? We're moving into it. So,
oh yeah, we're coming in hot. There we go. All right, here we go. In 3, 2, 1, let's go.
Who's it going to be? Who's it going to be? Man, it's a lot of names.
Definitely somebody.
It looks like it's going to be Nancy White.
Nancy White, congratulations, man.
You just won yourself a copy of The Day After Roswell. It's in great condition, by the way. I picked this one up and I'm like, you know what? I think we're going to give this one away. And it's one of the newer ones, actually. I found a first edition, so this is one of the brand new ones. The newer editions of it. So we're going to send that out to you. Still got the
Ada, tell Nancy to get in here.
Yeah, get over there. Wake her up.
She was in here a little bit ago.
Oh goodness. Well, anyway, Stan, we've got we've got Kecksburg coming up.
Yeah, it's July 17th and 19th this year. It's a great adventure for people. People from all over the country come in for it now. It's a great family event that's free. And And Friday night is half food night, and Saturday, as you know, is just jamming. I mean, nonstop.
Literally.
People coming by our tables and talking to everybody. And they have a parade, they have fireworks, they have a lot of food trucks and all kind of special events going on, like bed races most people have never seen.
Yep.
And then Sunday we have the conference from 1 o'clock, starting at 1 o'clock, and I'll be speaking. And I have 2 other speakers showing up that are very interesting, talking about cryptids this year. And anyhow, it's a lot of fun. You can go to my website. There's information on my website as well.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. If you've never been there, come on up, talk to Stan, talk to us. Me and Maria will be there, and we'll be set up with some of our goods. And I think we're going to have a few more of those prints left. I'm going to get you some of those too. Maybe somebody can take some more pictures of those and post them over online and tell everybody it's from, right field like they did last year. That would be just great. That was hilarious.
Yeah, we're still fighting that mess.
That was hilarious. Thanks to whoever did that.
You guys did a great job. It looks so real. It's amazing.
Apparently it's too real. But thank you. Well, you had a lot to do with that, Stan. I mean, we were back and forth on design of the, the elements of that thing, especially the coloration and the material that we used for the, the craft. And that was months to get that thing right. So I'm glad.
You were able to show the one feature that I really talked about over the years.
Yeah.
But we had independent people who, not that many, who were close enough to see the object and able to see what appeared to be that protuberance in the front that may have been a hatch.
Mm-hmm.
That's what that one witness talked about, where the hatch opened up. But there were others that confirmed also seeing what appeared to be this protuberance up in the front part of the object, and it fits right in.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love it. I think it's one of the cooler ones. I don't like my art usually, but I really like that one for some reason. I don't know. It's one I would buy. Let's put it that way. If I saw it, I would get that. Do we have our winner, Joe? What's going on?
Nope. Ada even tried to call her and it went to voicemail. So we're going to.
No. Oh, well, go ahead.
We're going to smack it again.
Spin that wheel again. We'll have to see if she wins something next time. It's gonna be Jen.
Jen.
All right, Jen here.
Jen, are you here?
Let's hold up a little bit.
And who's the author there, Ron?
Oh, this is Phil Corso. This is Philip J. Corso. This guy pretty much says that. Well, I'll spoil the book for you.
Octopus says, "Please, Jen, be here."
Yeah. I won't spoil the book for you, but pretty much Corso is the one who came out and kind of started the whole thing about how our current technology was derived from some of the material that was recovered at Roswell. And it's an interesting read. I'll just tell you that and leave it there for right now.
I'm with Eric here. Bueller.
Oh, no.
Jen, where you at?
Did we lose another one?
Again, I was starting everything off like,
Yeah.
from the get-go.
Sure,
Jen,
because they were here. Right. Yep. We have to do that. Yeah. All right, so let's give them yeah, let's give them a minute. Well, Stan, is there any place that you're going to be, anything that you're going to be doing next that everybody needs to be aware of?
Oh my, I'm booked for almost the whole year. So go to my website under upcoming events. There's events going on this even this weekend. There's all kind of events being planned all year long. Some really interesting cryptid and UFO events some places. And so go to my website and I'll keep adding more on as we get there. But it's a very busy year. So people can go to my website, by the way, which is stangordon.info, stangordon.info. They can reach me by phone. They can reach me by email. Phone number, it's been out in the public for years. It's area code 724-838-7768. And all my books are on Amazon.com and BarnesandNoble.com. The book, it goes into great detail about all the weird UFO Bigfoot connections, called Silent Invasion, the Pennsylvania UFO Bigfoot Casebook. And my most recent book is Creepy Cryptids and Strange UFO Encounters of Pennsylvania. And there's amazing stories in there and creatures and cryptids you never heard of before. It's very, very intriguing.
That's one of more freaky books, to be honest with you. There's some stories in there that'll, yeah. But no, for real, that's one of the books that I was reading that really helped me to kind of come up with this whole possibility that, look, there's a perception-based kind of thing that might be taking place here. These things may not be 100% physical all the time, and then of course our data kind of started validating that as well. And, just 2 years of listening to you, that stuff wears on you for a time. You kind of start like, well, wait a minute, that's what Stan said. And well, look, he said that in, 20 years ago or, right here. And it's just, you got to follow the data, man. And the people who can't follow the data, they're going to have a hard time with some of the realities that's about to really come down, in my opinion, because I do think that we're moving into an era to where we're going to have these bigger conversations about what the phenomena is, what it means, and, what its, I guess, impact on the future of actual humanity may be.
Yeah. Well, all I can tell you is I think watch for two of the main topics, orbs and interdimensional, because I really believe you'll be hearing a lot more about it in the weeks and months ahead.
Yep, that and possibly biologics of some sort.
Biologics, correct.
Yep, I do believe so. I think you're absolutely right. Are you going to spin that wheel again? All right, we'll spin the wheel again. We still have a winner, so let's do this one more time. Is it going to be? It's Teresa.
Teresa
here. Teresa, congratulations. I'm so tired of doing this, but hey, here you go. Here's your book. Okay. Anyway.
Well, one of us will just drop it off to you.
There you go. Stan, massive thank you for joining us. I know that right? She's here. You're extremely busy, and it's just awesome to actually get you on here and get these updates every now and again, because you just keep bringing more and more wild and weirdness to the table. And next time, I know there's going to be a few more things we can probably talk about, and we'll put those on there as well.
Sounds cool. Well, thanks, fellas, for having me back on the show. I'm always enjoying it when I'm with all of you.
Absolutely. Thank you, my friend. You're always welcome here, and we will, I promise you, we will get up there. And who knows, you might see something, you might not, but we'll at least go out and give it a try.
All right, have a good evening.
All right, thank you, sir.
Thanks, Dan. Have a good one, buddy.
Bye.
You too. Bye.
Folks and friends, that was Stan Gordon, the legendary Stan Gordon. Probably one of the, I don't know, I honestly think that he's one of the veteran UFO researchers, quite honestly. I mean,
yeah.
He's seen some things. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, I mean, he's been doing it since the 60s, nonstop, every day, all day. UFOs.
Still has the landline, still picks that thing up. It's amazing. Absolutely amazing. And it's
laser beams.
So I think we know what time it is. We hit our goal, so we're going to go ahead and I'm going to do this one again, because I don't know where my A ended up at. I think it's in the other room. I was recording with it, and I think I left it in there, but we're going to use the old C4 again. So for the folks who are here, this is going to be for you guys who help support the show and keep us free forever, et cetera, and for prizes for the next meeting, because we're going to do that. Let me get a mic.
I'm going to break it down.
Let me break it down for you.
I can guarantee you one thing: the audio quality is better than what today's disclosure thing was in DC.
Oh no! Wait, we're gonna sidetrack for just a second, because we got to talk about this. Okay, y'all, hang on for the flute. If you're here, just hang on for a second. It's not gonna take long. This is gonna be one of those things, because first of all, I'm at work today, and I'm like, oh, the disclosure thing's taking place. Let me go over and turn on this and listen. I turned it on, and all I heard was reverb. And I'm like, Joe, this is not the main feed, right? And he's like, no, that's because he texts me back. Yeah, that's the main feed. And I'm like,
Yeah, I checked 3
can't
different
be.
sources, and all of them were using the same video and audio source, which is a failure. So that's media 101. Do not do.
Now we learned it the hard way, but we're amateurs. At least I thought we were. The point being, you want to knock down that reverb. Just put a wireless mic. They're cheap. Put a wireless mic on, hook it up. You're good to go. It's all
a Bluetooth mic to a phone.
Yeah, it's easy.
Just have them just switch the audio. Be like, hey, okay, log in here, dispatch from this feed, call it a day.
Yeah. All right, well, that's enough of that. So I just wanted to get that out there. That was something.
Repeat.
repeat. See, I can do more.
You guys in the comments or something else, thank you all every week for coming out here and supporting us here.
They always
on
are.
Wild and Weird Radio. All of the support you guys throw our way. Everything you do helps keep all the lights on here and keeps us out in the field, keeps batteries in the equipment. And it also gives us the ability to build some ridiculousness that you get to see us use and see if it works or not.
Yep, that's what it does. That's absolutely true.
So thank you guys.
I sure hope this tune doesn't call in the not deer. Well, me too. Me too.
All right. Have a good night, everybody. Thank you all so much. Have a good weekend. Try to enjoy it if you're on the East Coast, Central, Mid-Atlantic region, because we're going to have some gnarly storms. Be a good weekend to stay inside and play some video games, so long as you got power.
Yeah.
But remember, power goes out. There's always other things you can do. Come out, stare at the sky. Gets rid of a lot of light pollution. Stay wild and weird, everybody.